2, 3. All right. Round 2, let's go. So, where do we leave off before? So, last time we set out the strategy. Let me make sure this background music isn't too much. Testing, testing. Quick check. Huh. All right. I kind of like this background audio better. Let's try it. All right, we'll go with that. I like it. Okay. So, let's review. So yesterday we went through kind of the strategic plan, and then today the goal is let's lay out course 1. Intro to accounting. All right, so let's go through the outline and let's plan what we're going to be teaching. So what we want to learn, I have a textbook that I bought off Amazon that I'm going to use as the basis kind of the beginning outline. I don't know about all the copyright laws and stuff, so I'm not going to like straight up copy it and show it. But, wait, did that? Did that, when I do expose, does that kill? Let's try. Yeah, okay. Make sure I don't push that button. Okay. Let's write out our topics. So, step 1, the accounting equation. Next, I also changed my keyboard so it's not so loud. The accounting equation, then let's say the accounting cycle. Let's say financial statements. And then let's break the accounting cycle into 2 components. During the period, after the period. Well, let's just say closing the period. And then let's say financial statements are after. Then financial analytics. All right, so this is a good, the basics of how accounting works. We could go into chart of accounts. We could break down what all of the accounts mean, and then let's say basis of accounting. So we'll go through cash basis and accrual basis. So in accrual basis, we kind of have to really explain accruals and deferrals. Then I guess before the accounting equation, we need to just say really high level overview of accounting as the language of business. So this is going into different types of accounting. And then let's say the different applications. This would be like public companies, private companies, different accounting careers. So those are different tracks. There would be corporate accounting, audit, tax, finance, entrepreneurship. Gotta know how to spell. This neat keyboard is really sensitive. All right. What else? This seems like a pretty good list. Kind of want to this kind of brings up ideas of other courses. Feels like touching on entrepreneurship and accounting. If someone wants to be a CPA, we could talk through that. What degree, or should I get an accounting degree? Why study accounting? Why do accounting over finance? Oh, I'm sorry. Oops. Okay. So it's a pretty good start. I feel like I should create a mind map. What's the best mind map software? For now, we'll use Microsoft Whiteboard. Let's create a mind map of these different topics. Is there a template? I'll just go. We'll go raw. We'll do it live. All right. Got it. So let's start with we need a library of the different graphics. Let's create our outline more in depth. I think this is a good starting point. So let me make a new document. That's going to be our outline. What's the name of this course going to be? I'm going to call it Accounting 101. So as I get input from people, I'll update this, but this will be a good start. Let's grab this from our brain. All right, so the purpose of this course and then I don't know why I did that. Oh my gosh. So, chapter 1. So, overview. Then let's do the accounting equation. Then let's do chart of accounts. Well, let's just say accounts, the concept of accounts. Then accounting basis. Then the accounting cycle. Financial statements. And then financial analytics. So the accounting equation For this, seems like the next thing I want to do is work with the Grok or ChatGPT real quick to get feedback on whether I'm missing anything. So I'm not going to put that on the screen, but I'm going to just get its feedback real quick. So, well, let's come up with a purpose real quick. The purpose of this is overview of the accounting language. Explain the purpose and language, the purpose of accounting, and the basic fundamentals of the accounting language. So, I don't know what to call this, but the thought I'm having is, accounting is the language of business. Understanding accounting is essential to understanding how the story of a business is communicated. Yeah, I mean, okay. So let's run this through the AI machine. All right. How can I convey how I'm going to do this? I'll do it on my scratch pad. All right, prompt. So I'm going to give context to AI. I am writing an outline of an intro to accounting course. I'm going to create content and artifacts to teach the concepts Here is my first draft of an outline. What major concepts are missing? Okay, I'm gonna pop that in the AI machine and see what it says. Oh, I need to provide the draft outline. I should give a quick explanation. I should tag these sections. So, I should really be doing this in Markdown. I need to get a Markdown editor. Let's add that. Let's create a new plan in Planner. Okay. Get Markdown editor for artifact, for planning artifact creation. Okay, so next time I'll have that. All right, for now, I'll simulate it. So I'm going to provide context of each section. So this is wrong. All right, so this will explain the purpose I don't like any of this. I'm going to just give bullet points of what. Pull it out a little bit. Okay. Introduce the idea that accounting is a language. How to study accounting. The same way you study other languages. Different types of accounting. So this would be financial accounting, managerial accounting, tax accounting, each language has different objectives and target audiences. Sorry, I'm sitting on a stool that rocks so I don't hurt my back. All right. All right, so that'll be it for that. Okay, the accounting equation. Concept of balance sheet. So concept of double entry accounting. Historic context. Throwing other topics on here where we can hit up triple entry accounting. Let's hit that. It's at the end for fun. Historic context of double entry accounting. Balance sheet equation. Income statement. You know, this in general, this is okay. I'm gonna make a bucket of concepts. So this is where we'd hit debits and credits, but before that, we need to understand the balance sheet equation, the idea of assets, liabilities, and equity. Within equity, the idea of contributions, distributions, returned earnings, and net income. Then T accounts. Wondering if we don't call it the accounting equation, but we call it the story of a business. So, accounting is the language in which the story of a business is told. The accounting language has a base set of grammar. This is called double entry accounting. The idea of double entry accounting is that everything that happens can be translated into the accounting language. That sentence doesn't make sense. Okay, so I like how I had it. Oh, gosh. Okay, so we're going to get into transaction analysis. The journal. The story, the book. So, kind of thinking it's explain this analogy that it's the language of business. So there's grammar. There's the story written in a book. There's a journal. There's a ledger. There's a summary. Journal to capture or record in a journal. Compile into a ledger. Summarize into a trial balance. Present the story in the statements. Grammar, vocabulary. So it's kind of high level. So accounting is the language of business. And then accounting language has set base grammar. Okay, so then I mean, eventually we get into the accounting cycle. That's where we're going to have the idea of. So this is kind of a high-level overview of the analogy. Then I'm going to go into these different. So this is a high level. Then set the analogy of, okay, accounting is a language of business. And then, just like a language, there's a base set of grammar and vocabulary. The language of business is used to record the story, organize, synthesize, and present the story to stakeholders. There is a process to capture, or there's a process to all this. The language, grammar. So this is double entry accounting is the grammar. Vocabulary is like accounts, concepts. Seems like this is where you could also reference several governing, quote unquote, bodies define the grammar and vocabulary for different dialects of accounting. For example, FASB and GAAP, Congress and the Internal Revenue Code. So then there's a process to this. So there's a process to creating the books. All right, so kind of that's the high level overview of the language. So the concept. All right, so let's lay this out. All right. So, how's this? Okay, so if we were going to break down kind of this high level overview, then let's break each of its components. So, talk about double entry counting, then the balance sheet equation, the concept of accounts, how do I want to do that? Do accounts. And then equity, account types, or categories. Then trying to think how to bridge the gap here. Sorry, I'm in thinking mode. I'm gonna create a flow chart of the different artifacts, and I'm thinking through how they are gonna evolve. So let's go there. I don't like that. I'm gonna use my iPad to draw this on a different screen. So here. All right, so step one. First thing I'm gonna do. How do I want to do this? I'm gonna actually flip over to this and just kind of go through this. So the way this is gonna go is here's the evolution. So starting will be the concept of increase and decrease. Then also the concept of A equals B plus C. So let's call this the equation. And then next will be break down the equation into the breakout A, B, C, where there's C1, C2, C3, and so C3 is broken down into different components. So that will introduce the accounting equation. So then from there, so from there, it would break down into accounts. So the idea that there's boxes. So the idea of accounts. Then I'm looking at my notes of doing this, workshopping this recently. Okay, so from there, then we'll break it down. Same picture. Then we'll introduce the idea of increase and decrease. I think we might need to change how we do that. So maybe up here, we need to, let's see if this will let me do this. Well, let me rotate this, that'd be sweet. Oops. Nope. No. No rotating. Okay. Back to this. Okay. Let's see if I'm getting a little off track here. All right, so this is the idea of increases and decreases. So then from there, we go to, hello. From there, we'll go to T accounts. Okay, then from there, we'll go into the idea of journal entries. So that will be, boom. So then from there, it'll be the whole picture. Whoa, what the heck? How do I disable my hand from touching this thing? It's annoying. And then trial balance. So this whole thing is the accounting, this process, bringing it all together. All right, so how does that line up with our outline here? So this canceled. So the way we start, so we're explaining the grammar. I want my snipping tool. So all right, so that's introduced here. So this is explaining the grammar. Is there any kind of philosophical explanation that needs to happen, or do we go straight into just, hey, learn this, and then we'll make sense of it later? Like, just learn this game. Okay, learn. Maybe we start with it doesn't. You don't need to understand why. Just learn this game, and then draw. Okay, so we'll start with, hey, learn this system. So the accounting equation game. So it's just the balance equation. And then throw a it's too strong. I just want an outline around it. Yeah. Too complicated. All right. So we talk about the balance sheet equation. Then I learned this picture and the rules of the game. The game is to translate from intuitive or from business activity to the system. Okay, so it's, hey, here's this equation. Then it's, all right, eh. So what is this in accounting? This is the balance sheet equation. So then from there, it's, does that make sense that that's how I do it? I need, like, I'm going to show that thing, and then it's balance in all things. So let's tell a story using this picture. So in order to do that, there has to be an introduction of what assets, liabilities, and equity are. So it's almost like we need to explain assets, liabilities, and equity, and examples of them. Because you need a, well, and then revenue and expense. So, hey, basic terms and their meanings with examples. So an exercise would be, here is a thing. Which bucket does it go into? So once you know assets, liabilities, equity, revenue, and expense, then you could say, okay, cash owned by the business. Equipment owned by the business. A loan from the bank. Amount the owner put into the business. Amount the owner out of the business. Amount the owner the owner's the amount the owner owns free and clear. The amount of money generated from business. The amount of money spent to make money. All right. So we can think of ways to explain these concepts. So then we can say, okay, learn this picture. Here's the rules. And now let me tell you a story, or let me explain some things that happen, and you place them place the values from these examples into the boxes. Cash, blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blog. All right, so boom, boom, boom. You got to be able to put stuff into the boxes. Then let's get into double entry. So every time something happens, must be put into boxes in a way that keeps balance. So I think this is get stuff into the boxes. Translate from a thing to a box. Then it's All right, now let's introduce the idea of balance. Let's get rid of that equation. Let's just say it's just boxes. Then placement of the boxes. Okay, then keep balance. I feel like even before this, expand the equity box. So let's focus on the equity box and break it out. Then even after that, expand the net income box. Then now we've got all those pieces. So this is net income in the equity box equals revenue expenses. So then introduce the idea of balance. And the idea of double entry. Boom. So then exercise so something happens, place into the boxes and keep balance. Then once you can do that, then let's introduce the idea of accounts that break the boxes into smaller boxes. So refine the boxes. Accounts. So introduce the idea that these are account boxes. So then the idea is given things Which accounts are they? Well, this is cash, inventory. We need to have a chart of accounts. V1. What are the chart of accounts that, you know, are in play? Oops. Didn't want to do that. Let's get rid of grid lines. All right. Cash. Let's throw an order type. So cash, inventory, accounts receivable, I before E except after C. Equipment. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go look and see what the common. But for now, let's just say equipment. I'll just say building. Let's get work in process on here. Building. Accounts payable. I don't know if I want to build all this out right now. Whatever. I'm going to come back to this. I don't want to get too in deep in that right now. So we'll establish the base set of accounts. I think all right, let me write some notes here. So V1 just V2 accruals, deferrals. So I guess when I need to think through this, and it seems like this is something to workshop going through this. So we'll break out the accounts. The idea of accounts. I don't know where to put this. this. So we introduced the idea of accounts, then given the things, put them in the accounts. Okay, now then do how do we get to, well, where we're going with this is arriving at T accounts. So we need to introduce increase and decrease. Should we do that before accounts? When we introduce double entry? Yeah, let's do that. So how did we get here? All right, we introduce the boxes and we kind of break them into expanded categories. Then we need to be able to show balance. How would I show? How am I going to show that? I'm going to say, okay, here's something happens. If I'm throwing it into the boxes, I'll use pluses and minuses, and then use pluses and minuses. Then, okay, introduce. Yeah, okay, from there, then I'll say introduction, or ditch the plus and minus, introducing the center line, center lines, increases and decreases. So this is where we step up to the big leagues, the bigger leagues. Have we introduced accounts at that point? Yeah, so we've got accounts. Then we say, okay, let's introduce concept of increase and decrease. This picture should have accounts. So then, all right, given the same activities as before, tell the story using accounts with increase, decrease instead of plus or minus. Then ditch the boxes. Let's use T. So same as before. Same story. All right, so then we've learned how to okay, so once you know how to do this and use this, now let's formalize it. Oops, what the heck? Let's record activity. One picture, multiple activities. So when we want to show multiple things happening on this graphic, we need to list them. So that's where we'll use that and that. Then boom. All right. So once you can do that, and you know how to use all the pictures. So then let's say transaction analysis level 1 is when you can use the level 1 graphic to translate several activities into the graphic. So level 1 is basic accounts, no timing differences. Huh, my internet took a little hiccup there. So level 1 chart of accounts is in play. Level 1 graphic. So this whole thing is level 1 grammar. So this whole thing is called the level 1 book graphic. Great. So let's go zoom back up. So what we're doing here is establish level 1 graphic and level 1 transaction analysis. So then level 2 will be where we create the this whole thing's redundant. Whatever. I'll just do this. No. That's fine. Okay. So level 1 grammar, then let's do level 2 grammar. So level 2 grammar is where we get into accrual basis of accounting. Oh, shoot. That's going to be level 3 grammar. Level 2 grammar is going to be the introduction of debits and credits. General journal. General ledger. Trial balance. So we're going to translate the level 1 concepts to the accounting vocabulary, and then So the exercise same stuff, new vocab. All right, so then level 3 is where we'll get into how the story is told with the different basis of accounting. All right, so then it's a whole new set. Level 3 activities. All right, so then we'll have a whole set of new activities and accounts. So then once someone knows level 3 grammar, then they can pretty much handle all the basic transaction analysis. So after level 3 grammar, ready, you can handle all the basic transaction analysis. Now, move on to the accounting process of recording, organizing, and presenting, publishing the story. So, transaction analysis, create the journal, T accounts. And then adjusting entries. Where are adjusting entries going to be introduced? I think that's here. So So, what I gotta figure out how to build the bridge, because once we have this, the next big thing I need to put in here make sure not to forget that. Okay, so then the next picture is this idea that we've got accounts, and then you've got your trial balance, and then you've got adjusting entries, then you've got your adjusted balance, and then the idea of closing entries, and then you've got your post-closing balance. So this whole picture has to make its way in. It was like an hour ago that I was going to put this into ChatGPT, and I never did that. I kind of just kept going. So now I don't even know how I'm going to do that. Okay, so what I have left is I need to bridge the gap to get to here from level 3. And then once I do that, then the financial statements. So this is, let's break down balance sheet, current versus long term, income statement, and then yeah, I think well, Okay, so here, let's just call this level 1 maybe. So here, the income statement, we'll do, gross profit. I'm just trying to think at this level, how in depth should we go with? So, do we mention multi-step versus single step? I don't know if we mentioned that or not. Maybe. Okay, but revenue, expenses, net income. I don't know. We'll decide later how we'll spell this out, whether how in depth we get, like gross profit, operating. Like, do we introduce the idea of cost of goods sold yet? I don't know. Okay, so the financial statements. Then statement of cash flows. When do we introduce investing, operating, financing activities? All right. Then high level financial analytics, get into like vertical and horizontal analysis. Yeah, to be determined. All right, so I think this is a pretty good Accounting 101 overview. So, kind of got a flow chart of the graphics and when they come in. So, I guess the next steps so we've created an outline. Then let's start so we've got an outline. Let's create some presentation drafts and then workshop them. The idea being improve the presentations, and then once we have a final presentation draft, we'll create polished content. Okay. That's the plan. So here's the presentation. So that'll be the next lab session, is I'll start building out the PowerPoint for Accounting 101 and start to, well, I think we'll do this process kind of at a we won't do this process for the entire thing. We'll do it section by section. So the presentation we'll do first, maybe overview of accounting, or we jump straight to kind of level 1 grammar. We'll decide. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go. All right, so I'm going to end this stream and then take a break and probably do another session in a few hours. It's a rainy day, so all of the sports activities have been canceled. So I figured I would grind on this. All right. Let's see.